Poor me, I've been absolutely dreading this day. Oh yes, the Apple Vision Pro did not live up to my expectations, fine viewer. It has been a sore disappointment in multiple ways, and that is why, viewer, I am keeping my Apple Vision Pro. Yeah. As you're watching this, it is Friday. I guess the last day to return the Apple Vision Pro. That's why I'm making the video today. And listen, the article that inspired this was actually by The Verge. They did an article talking about why people are returning their Apple Vision Pro within like the 2-week period. And that's going to happen for any Apple product. So I thought it was weird that it had like a dedicated article on The Verge, like almost like, yeah, look at this thing. People are returning their Apple Vision Pro. I feel like that would happen with any product ever, but whatever. And I'm sure because it's the final day to return the Vision Pro, there's probably gonna be a lot of videos on YouTube even, with the classic face palm, Vision Pro in this angle right over here going, I'm returning the Apple Vision Pro, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? And I kind of want to give the opposite take on why I'm keeping the Apple Vision Pro, despite the fact that I do think this is, in a way, a very Generation 1 product, and in even a lot of ways, a very flawed product right now, but also an insanely great one. Now, I want to say that it is very rare that I get a tech product that comes across my desk nowadays that I get this excited for. I mean, and I'm a tech reviewer, so I see a lot of tech products, especially Apple ones. And even though I get a little excited every time a new Mac comes out, or a new chip comes out, or a new iPhone, a new Apple Watch, right? There's always that inherent excitement of, oh, look, it does this new thing. Oh, look, it does that new thing. Oh, it has this new nice feature. I still get excited about that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I also know how to use those products, right? I've been using iPhones for a while. The Apple Watch is almost on its 10th year. I've been using the Apple Watch for 10 years. I've been using the Mac for even longer than that. So even though they get nice new things and sometimes things improve a lot, inherently, they're still very similar products to what came before them, and there's not like a new experience to be had there. I think back to the first iPhone keynote when Steve Jobs, in classic fashion, demoed that first iPhone. And you look at things we take for granted nowadays, like scrolling and pinch to zoom. And when Steve Jobs first demoed those very natural interactions we have with our smartphones every single day now, things that people wouldn't even, get excited for, people literally gasped in the audience the first time he touched that screen, the first time he showed off scrolling and how fluid it was, the first time he pinched to zoom into a photo. People were like, whoa, how is that possible? That is crazy. You can actually do that on a device. You can touch a device and you can use all these gestures to control it in that way, right? And I would say that's probably the same for me. Moving over from something like a Mac to like the iPhone or the iPad, that's probably the last time I was genuinely that blown away by a product to where it was like, oh wow, this is really, really different. I haven't had as, mind-blowing and as interesting of an experience with tech since the Apple Vision Pro. And I wasn't even really expecting it. I knew this was going to be an interesting product. I knew it was something new from Apple. I knew it was going to be great for the use cases that Apple showed off in its keynote, like watching videos on like a movie theater screen, maybe playing some games with it, like a traditional VR headset. Actually, that's probably like the worst thing with this is that the games for it aren't quite good yet, and it doesn't come with physical controller. So it's really not a great gaming device. But the thing that really blew me away was this entire concept of spatial computing. And before I used this, I looked at that term, spatial computing, because when Apple came out with this, I thought they were gonna lean in on augmented reality and with a mix of virtual reality. When the rumors for this headset came out, it was like Apple's gonna make an augmented slash, virtual reality headset. And Apple didn't use the term augmented reality. They used the term spatial computing. And I went, oh, classic Apple. They took the term augmented reality, they named it spatial computing, they gave their own spin on something that's existed forever, and it's a complete marketing term. I get it. I know the Apple lingo. Even as a fan of Apple products, I know when they reinvent something, right? They do that all the time. They call it something else. So when I heard spatial computing, I went, okay, augmented reality. I got it. I know the concepts of augmented reality. But then I used Apple Vision Pro. I, opened an app, a simple app, something we use all the time, like Safari, web browsing in Apple Vision Pro. And you open it up in your 3D space and you go, augmented reality. There it is, right? A window floating in front of you. You could still see things through the pass-through. And, there's your AR experience. But then you move the window. You can grab the bottom window, right? You can move it around in a 3D plane. And wherever you leave that window, it stays there. And then you can bring up another window or another application, and you can place that there, and it stays there. And you're moving these apps in this 3D space, and it won't really click for you until you try it, I think, because you can I've explained this to so many people at this point, and each time they kind of look at me like, oh, what's the big deal? But then if I let them try the Apple Vision Pro headset and actually let them try it, they get it. They go, oh, okay, I can see the vision of where this thing's going. So, traditionally we are confined to screens. I don't have my iPhone on me right now, but I have this battery. I'll pretend this is an iPhone screen, right? This is the screen of the phone or the battery. And you look at the screen and you can manipulate, the software in that screen. Now, technically, there are screens on the Apple Vision Pro. They're lenses. You look through them, right? They're really high quality 4K micro OLED displays, and they're fantastic displays. But even though they are displays, because of the hand tracking and the gestures, it appears to you, at least when you're looking through this pass-through mode, that you're controlling these apps in a 3D plane. You are putting them in areas, and the tracking on this and the location data, or whatever they're using to get this effect, is so good that I could literally place an app against this wall, and then maybe place an app against this wall over here, and I could walk away, go, 50 rooms over down the hall. I could walk for like a long time, come back here, and those apps would stay there. I had a really mind-blowing experience with this when I was using this in the, like the first couple of days I got it. And, I have a studio here where I'm recording this video, and then I went back to my house, and then I opened up a bunch of apps at my home, and, I kind of forgot about it. I came back to the studio, and when I put this headset on, there was an app floating there. It was like the podcast window, and I went, I didn't open anything yet. And then I realized the last time I was in the studio, I was listening to podcasts on the Vision Pro. And I went, did that stay open, or am I imagining that? And I kind of went, whatever, bug, okay. Then I drove home, and the headset was on, and I walked in my home, and all the windows I left open, which were a lot, were all still open in my home, placed exactly where I left them. It was like, these apps or virtual objects or whatever, this software was almost analog, not digital. It was almost like it was living with me. Like I physically placed it there and it stayed there. And that's when I completely got it. I completely got the vision of what this spatial computing thing is. It is computing, doing the things we already know how to do, right? Browse the web, listen to music, edit a video, view our photos. It is all that general computing that we do on a daily basis without the limit of technically technically there's a screen, but without the limit of a screen, an infinite canvas as Apple calls it. And that, again, is mind-blowing. The first time I experienced this, I went, I can't believe this is happening and I don't know how they're doing it. It feels like magic. Very similar to the first time you use a touch screen. You really don't know how it works. You go, that's kind of magic. And I was surprised just how much I enjoyed computing in this device. I'm excited to wear this still after 2 weeks, and the hype hasn't worn off. I love popping up all these windows around me and kind of working in this space where there's giant windows floating around me. And it hasn't gotten old yet. And the thing I'll say about Vision Pro is even with just general computing, kind of like boring stuff, like doing my emails and stuff, I lose track of time in here. It feels like, when I was a kid and, you'd get like a new video game and you'd play it all night and you'd lose complete track of time and all of a sudden it was time to go to bed. Now, I get kind of like that same experience with Vision Pro. I'm in this, and I lose complete track of time because there's literally like no clock unless you go into like Control Center or download an app. So I'm just like really immersed into this experience right now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And that's just like general computing, right? We're not even talking about the stuff that's actually like supposed to be fun in this device. Like there are some AR games, which, you know, I've dabbled around with. They aren't really like too interesting to me. But then there's stuff like a virtual movie theater experience. Like the Apple TV app has like the best version of this, I think, where you can play a movie and then you can then use the environments tab to go into like a fake virtual movie theater. And it puts, you know, the movie, it appears to you like it puts it on like this giant movie theater screen. So you're sitting there and you're watching movies basically with like the same experience as watching at the theaters. Now, there are some technical things I don't like about this. Like there is like a lens glare with how bright the movies get, but the experience is so compelling of being able to watch any movie that you kind of want on like a giant movie theater display that you kind of forgive it. And it's not too bad. The visual quality overall, besides that lens glare issue, the 4K micro OLED displays in this are fantastic. So, you know, what I was doing is I was watching movies that I never saw in theaters. You know, like the original Spider-Man trilogy. I never saw Spider-Man 3 in theaters. So I was like, how would that experience be? And I put on the headset and I was like, I was gonna watch like 5 minutes of it. And I ended up watching the whole movie. You know, it's not the greatest movie in the world, but I ended up watching the whole movie because I felt like I was in a theater and it was such a good experience. The time flew by and I was like, wow, I watched the whole Spider-Man, you know, the worst of the original trilogy in this headset. And that was great. Like one of my favorite movies of all time is Hook. And it's like, you know, I wish I could watch Hook at the movie theaters. And now I can. I could just put on this headset, transport myself to the movie theater. And, you know, there's other, like the Disney Plus app does like a really good job too of this, of where, you know, I love the original Star Wars movies. And you can go to like Tatooine, which is a planet in Star Wars, right? You can be in that environment and it puts it again on a big movie theater screen. And you can watch those original movies on a movie theater screen. You don't have to watch it on your TV. You don't have to watch it on your phone. You have like the biggest display in front of you. I actually took this thing to the movie theaters because I was curious. I'm like, you know, it feels like a big movie theater display in here. Is it? And I went to the movie theaters and I expanded a window and, you know, it was actually bigger than the movie theater screen that I was watching. So it's not even just, you know, about the same size as a movie theater display. In my case, at the cinema I went to, it was bigger when I expanded the window. So that is actually crazy to me. And there's even like some good practical use cases for Vision Pro right now, at least for me. You know, I edit on my MacBook Pro currently. I obviously have like, you know, external monitors, but if I'm somewhere mobile, you know, you really can't take like a giant external display with you, but you can take a Vision Pro. And again, you can connect this easily to your Mac. You can pop up like a big virtual 4K Mac display. And again, if you really wanted to, you can make that thing like movie theater size. So there's entertainment on this headset. There's fun things to do on this headset. There are practical things to do on this headset that make it worth it to me. But the reason that I'm keeping it is because even though this is a flawed product, and it is flawed, right? Look at this thing. It's big, it's heavy, it has an external battery attached to it, right? You could look at this headset right now, and I know I certainly could. I can look at both the hardware and software of this thing, and I could think of, off the top of my head, probably like 1,000 ways you can improve this thing, right? You could remove this external battery, put it inside the headset, and that would be an improvement. You could make the pass-through cameras on this a lot better. That would be an improvement. You could get rid of the ghosting on the lens. That would be an improvement. You could make this thing lighter. That would be an improvement. You could make this thing smaller. That would be an improvement. You could change the band up. That would be an improvement. You could add better speakers. That would be an improvement. And that's not even going over like software stuff, right? Vision OS is very buggy. There's so many improvements you can make to Vision OS. You can't even rearrange apps right now on the home screen. You can't. They're listed alphabetically, and as you download new apps, they're added alphabetically. So if your favorite app begins with a Z and you download a bunch of apps, that is stuck on the last page no matter what you do. So Vision OS is clearly, you know, version 1 of this OS. Again, you know, the first iPhone didn't even have an app store. Forget about rearranging apps. It didn't even have an app store. So there's a ton of improvements you could make to the Vision Pro and Vision OS. And, if you ask me, Greg, what can you improve about the iPhone right now? Better battery, better camera? I don't know. Yeah, make it faster, right? And that's kind of it, because they've been around for a while. We're on the iPhone 15. Macs have been around for a while. I don't even know what Mac we're on, but they've been around for a while. And, they feel more like perfected devices. There's always things to add. There's always things to improve upon, but they're very, very well polished devices. This isn't, but that's exciting. There's so much Apple could do with this. There's so much potential in this device. And as someone that's into technology, as someone that's into all this computing stuff, as someone that gets excited by this, it's been a long time since I felt this excited about a product and this excited about a platform and an idea of computing and where the future is leading us. And that is ultimately why I am not returning my Apple Vision Pro. Even though it is expensive, even though it is flawed, I currently love using it. I have found useful applications for it. I have found a lot of ways to have fun in this headset. But above all of that even, I just think it is a really exciting product to use and to be a part of that early story. If you could go back in time and use the first iPhone, there was a lot of problems with it, but it was exciting to use that first iPhone. If you can go back and use the first Mac, there were a lot of problems with it, but that was a very exciting time for computer development. So I feel the same way about this. This is very exciting. It is not a perfected product, which is maybe why you shouldn't buy it or maybe why you'd want to return it, but all I can say is I'm not returning mine. And that was a video with no script, no notes, raw emotion, raw thoughts, jumbled, probably bad video, but a video I wanted to make. So if you like this video, please give me a like. If you think my thoughts were somewhat coherent, maybe you'll subscribe to the channel. But one thing's for certain, I want to get back in this headset. And that's the end of the video. So have a good one. I'll catch you in the next one.